Have you ever sat on your porch, feeling the breeze, and wondered how people survived before pharmacies, before painkillers, and before all these plastic pill bottles filled our cabinets? Once upon a time, not so long ago, our grandparents, and theirs before them, leaned on something very different to heal. Not machines, not medicines, but the earth. They turned to foods. Simple, natural, forgotten now by many, but once powerful enough to nurse an entire village back to health. And these weren't rare, exotic ingredients. No, they were humble, grown in gardens, stored in wooden cupboards, shared over stews and stories. Today, we begin to remember them. This is PulseWise, where your health meets wisdom. Be sure to subscribe if you want to stay strong, independent, and thriving every day. Let's start with a root that carried generations through harsh winters, aching joints, and stubborn colds. The village healer, horseradish root. Spicy, pungent, almost forgotten. But once upon a time, horseradish root was the remedy every healer reached for when congestion struck. Villagers would grind it fresh and mix it with vinegar to open the lungs and clear the sinuses. In fact, elders used to say, "A spoonful of horseradish will chase the cold out faster than a fire warms the toes." Modern wisdom now supports this. Horseradish is rich in compounds called glucosinolates, which naturally support the immune system and even help the body fight off respiratory infections. How to use it at home. Grate fresh horseradish and mix it with a touch of honey and apple cider vinegar. Keep it in the fridge and take a spoonful at the first sign of sniffles or when your chest feels heavy. It may sting a little on the way down, but so did many of the best old remedies. Now, take a breath, because the next food once saved lives during famine, and it's likely sitting in your cupboard right now. The lifesaver, dried lentils. In times when crops failed and bellies were empty, lentils kept villages going. They were small, but mighty, packed with plant protein, iron, and fiber. Mothers would simmer them slowly with garlic, onion, and herbs, creating a simple stew that nourished even the weakest among them. Lentils are also low on the glycemic index, meaning they don't spike blood sugar. For older adults watching their glucose levels, this is powerful. A gentle recipe from the past. 1 cup brown lentils, 1 diced onion, 2 cloves garlic, a pinch of thyme, slow cooked in water or broth until soft. This basic dish healed stomachs, calmed nerves, and kept hearts strong. Villagers believed a warm bowl of lentils could bring strength to the tired and hope to the hopeless. And maybe they were right. And then there was the village balm, not for eating, but for wrapping wounds, soothing burns, and calming inflammation. The green cloth, cabbage leaves. Yes, cabbage. Women in villages would pull the large green leaves from the garden, crush them gently, and wrap them around sore knees or swollen feet. The leaves pulled out heat, drew away pain, and left behind comfort. Even today, studies show that cabbage leaves, when wrapped around joints, can reduce swelling just as effectively as some over-the-counter creams. To try it yourself, take large green cabbage leaves. Warm them slightly in hot, not boiling, water. Lay them gently over aching joints. Wrap with soft cloth for 20 to 30 minutes. It may sound old-fashioned, because it is, but sometimes that's exactly what we need. So why did we forget these healing foods? Maybe convenience got in the way. Maybe we stopped asking our elders. Or maybe we just got too busy to listen to the earth. But you and I, right now, can choose to remember. Because in every forgotten root, every simple stew, every cabbage leaf pressed against a tired leg, there's a whisper of wisdom calling us back. And in the next, we'll explore 2 more humble foods that helped entire communities thrive, including one bitter little seed that was once worth more than silver. Let's begin with a seed so special. Ancient people used it for both healing and protection. The bitter seed, fenugreek. Tiny, brown, almost forgotten. But in old villages, fenugreek seeds were used for everything, from easing digestion to calming inflammation and even supporting mothers after childbirth. Women would brew the seeds into teas, soak them overnight in warm water, or grind them into pastes for aching muscles. And elders believed just the scent of fenugreek in the kitchen meant someone in the house would soon feel better. Modern studies now confirm what these wise healers always knew. Fenugreek contains natural compounds that help stabilize blood sugar, soothe the stomach, and ease joint stiffness. How to try it at home. Soak 1 teaspoon of fenugreek seeds in a cup of warm water overnight. In the morning, sip the water slowly on an empty stomach. You can also dry roast the seeds lightly and sprinkle over soups or stews. The taste is strong, slightly bitter, a little nutty, but the effect is gentle, like a friend who tells you the truth, even when it's hard to hear. And sometimes, that's exactly the kind of remedy we need. But healing doesn't always come from something you eat. Sometimes, it comes in a cup held between your palms, rising with steam, offering comfort in silence. Let's journey to a village where sleep was sacred, and elders passed down a special recipe to quiet the mind and warm the heart. The golden cup, turmeric milk. When the winds howled outside and bones ached from cold or age, grandmothers would gently heat milk and stir in turmeric, a golden powder from the roots of the earth. They'd add a pinch of black pepper, sometimes a hint of honey, and serve it warm to their children and grandchildren. This wasn't just bedtime comfort, it was protection. Turmeric is one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatories. It eases arthritis pain, supports the immune system, and may even protect the brain from age-related memory decline. To make your own golden milk. Heat 1 cup of milk, dairy or plant-based. Add 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder, a pinch of black pepper. This helps your body absorb the turmeric. Optional, a touch of honey or cinnamon for taste. Stir well and sip slowly before bed. Even now, many seniors find that this nightly ritual soothes their joints, improves sleep, and offers a quiet moment of peace. Sometimes, that's all healing really is: warmth, stillness, and a few ingredients with ancient roots. Do you feel it? That sense of calm, of returning, of remembering? Each of these forgotten foods, from the humble fenugreek to the glowing turmeric milk, once carried entire communities through illness, fatigue, and even grief. And they still can, because healing isn't always about curing. Sometimes it's about caring. Caring for your body, caring for your memories, and caring enough to return to the simple things that once kept us well. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you picture an old wooden table? A fire flickering softly, a weathered hand placing a small bowl of berries in front of a sick child, or a pot of roots simmering over the stove, filling the home with a scent that somehow felt like comfort? These aren't just memories. They're legacies, living stories passed down through generations. And today, we continue remembering them, not just for the sake of the past, but for our future health, peace, and independence. Let's begin with a berry that once walked from village to village, carried by healers who knew its power. The fever berry, elderberry. Dark, rich, and almost too pretty to be medicine, elderberries were once gathered from wild bushes near rivers and forests. When someone fell ill, especially during colder seasons, a syrup made from elderberries was prepared in quiet kitchens. It was thick, dark purple, and gently spooned into mouths still warm with fever. Why? Because elderberries are rich in antioxidants and natural compounds that support the immune system. They've been shown to reduce the duration of colds and flu, especially when taken at the first sign of symptoms. Village wisdom told mothers, if your child coughs before bed, let elderberry kiss their tongue, and they'll wake brighter. How to use it today? Dried elderberries can be simmered with water, a cinnamon stick, and honey to make a natural syrup, or steeped as tea with ginger and lemon for soothing sore throats. You may have seen elderberry syrup in stores, but making it at home, slowly, is part of the healing. There's something about stirring a pot that your ancestors stirred, too. It connects you, body and soul. Now, let's go deeper into the ground, where one sturdy root once gave strength to those whose hearts were tired and muscles worn thin. The heart root, beetroot. It's vibrant, earthy, often overlooked. But in many old villages, beetroot was the food of strength. Farmers would eat it before long days in the fields. Widows would feed it to children recovering from illness. And elders believed that beets keep the blood flowing and the spirit from slowing. They weren't wrong. Beets are naturally high in nitrates, which help improve blood flow, lower blood pressure, and support heart health, all crucial for older adults. They're also rich in folate, iron, and fiber, nutrients that help fight fatigue and keep digestion smooth and regular. How to enjoy them simply. Roast fresh beetroot with olive oil and thyme until tender. Or grate raw beets into a salad with lemon and a sprinkle of salt. Beetroot juice, diluted with water and a touch of apple, can gently energize without caffeine. In many healing traditions, red foods were seen as life-giving, and beetroot, with its deep crimson hue, truly lives up to that legacy. And perhaps what these foods teach us most is that healing doesn't need to be complicated. It can come from a berry in the forest, a root in the soil, a pot simmering with patience. It can come from slowing down, listening to your body, and remembering what your grandparents once knew without needing to be told. That nature provides, if we're willing to listen. Oh, you ever have those quiet evenings where the body aches just a little more than usual, and the mind, though tired, refuses to rest? You sit by the window. The sun has set. The house is still. And you wonder, is there something simple, something gentle, that could ease this heaviness? Long ago, elders turned to two time-tested treasures, one from the herb garden, the other from the forest's edge. Not for magic, not for miracles, but for comfort. And that, sometimes, is all the healing we really need. Let's begin with the herb you may know, but perhaps not quite remembered in the way our ancestors used it. The gentle soother, chamomile. Sweet, fragrant, golden when brewed. Chamomile wasn't just for tea. It was a healer's first choice when someone was restless, anxious, or having trouble digesting. In village homes, mothers would gather the delicate flowers, dry them carefully, and steep them slowly in warm water. The tea wasn't rushed. It was savored, served before bedtime, after worry, or when someone's spirit needed calming. Modern science has shown chamomile's power as well. It contains apigenin, a natural compound that promotes relaxation and sleep. It also soothes the stomach and reduces inflammation, gently, without side effects. How to use it like the elders did. Steep dried chamomile flowers or a chamomile tea bag in hot water for 5 to 7 minutes. Add a few fennel seeds or a slice of fresh ginger for added digestive comfort. Sip slowly, with both hands around the cup, before bed or after meals. Some traditions even used chamomile in warm compresses, soaked cloths placed over tired eyes or aching joints. It wasn't just the tea, it was the ritual, the pause, the love behind it. But what if the pain was sharper? What if someone had a fever or sore limbs from hard labor and needed something stronger? That's when the forest offered one of its most precious gifts. The tree's gift, willow bark. Before aspirin, there was willow. Villagers knew that chewing on willow bark or boiling it into tea could relieve pain, especially joint aches, fevers, or toothaches. Healers would slice thin strips from the inner bark of willow trees growing near rivers. They'd dry it, store it, and use it with great care because it worked. Why? Willow bark contains salicin, a natural compound very similar to what later became aspirin. It reduces inflammation and calms pain, especially in muscles and joints. To use it now, dried willow bark can be brewed into a tea, 1 teaspoon per cup of boiling water, steeped for 10 to 15 minutes. Sip no more than once a day, and always check with your doctor if you're taking other medications, as it may interact with blood thinners or NSAIDs. It's important to remember, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's for everyone. But for many, this simple bark offered relief, and it did so for centuries before pharmacies existed. There's something humbling about that, isn't there? That a tree, standing quietly by the river, held medicine in its very skin. And so we return to the gardens, to the hearths, to the quiet knowledge passed from one set of wrinkled hands to the next. Chamomile for peace, willow bark for pain, beetroot for the heart, elderberries for the cold, fenugreek for strength, turmeric for warmth, cabbage leaves for swelling, lentils for nourishment, and horseradish for breath. They were never just foods. They were stories. They were love. They were healing. And now, they are yours again. Not to replace modern medicine, but to remember what's been forgotten. To reclaim the power in your kitchen, your garden, your memory. Because wisdom doesn't age. It deepens. Be sure to subscribe to PulseWise if you want to stay strong, independent, and thriving every day. Thank you for taking this journey with us. And remember, you carry more healing power than you think. Sometimes, all it takes is a cup of tea, a quiet moment, and an open heart.